All right, friends, it's Kate here with the Mom Boss Mentor, and today I have a very special guest tuning in from Greece. She has an amazing story, and I'm so excited for you to get to know her and how she went from academics to entrepreneurship and now helps others publish books. So, welcome to the show. I can't wait for everyone to get to know you. So, you want to tell us a little bit about you and what you used to do in the academic world?
Sure. Well, it's great to be here, Kate. Thanks for having me. So, as you've mentioned earlier, my background is in academia, particularly in psychology. I've been training most of my adult life, becoming a psychologist. I got my master's, my PhD in psychology, became a lecturer, did all sorts of research, and I'm on that trajectory, in terms of climbing the academic career. And even if, okay, I've gained some international acclaim in my own research and made a name for myself in my field in community psychology, when I gave birth to my son, your priorities tend to shift. It's a life changing moment when you give birth to your own child, and for me, on top of that, I had to grapple with some identity identity challenges. There are some issues around returning to work, some institutional issues as well when it comes to maternity leave and all of these gender issues that a lot of activists talk about. I did struggle with postnatal depression. At some point, I was suicidal, and I'm thinking, what am I doing with my life? I am a psychologist. What's going on with my head? This is not quite right. And at some point, I did hit rock bottom. I started thinking about what is important to me. And it made me realize that what's important to me is to live a good life. I enjoyed academia. I loved teaching. I loved research. But I also felt deep down that there's more that I can do with my life, with my skills, and still enjoy motherhood. And that's how I made that conscious decision, have an exit strategy, and eventually start my own business. And here I am now in Greece. It took a couple of years, for me to get to this point. But looking back, it's probably the boldest and bravest and best thing that I've done, because I couldn't really see a happy ending if I continued on to the trajectory that I was heading, if I haven't left my original position. So that's it. I'm now an online entrepreneur and helping others to write and publish their books on Amazon.
Okay, so I love this. And I think that, there is that kind of pattern of, breakdown, and everybody's breakdown is different. And so you hit rock bottom. And I love that, you had the bravery and the boldness to choose a different trajectory. And I think you touched on some real issues that are global, and talking about the maternity leave, postpartum depression, gender inequality, and all the things. So what was like, what was the steps that you took to kind of get from rock bottom to inching closer to creating this dream life that people would love to have living in Greece? So what were the steps that you took?
Sure, sure. So when I did hit rock bottom, it made me realize that I'm not turning up in my best possible self. And that's not a particularly good position to be in, especially I have a child who's watching me and who needs me. And if I am not well, then I'm also not being present and being the good mother that he deserves. So I went out and reached out for help, with to a close friend of mine. She's also a neuropsychologist, and at that point I didn't realize that she was also suffering from depression. So we had that shared pain. I didn't realize at that time, but when I told her, look, this is what's going on with me right now. I'm actually suicidal now. I've been, doing some things that are not quite right, and my head is all over the place. I think I need help. And what my friend did was she actually locked me up in her office. She said, all right, I'm not going to let you out of this office until you pick up that phone and book an appointment with a doctor because you need help. So I had no choice. I picked up that phone, booked an appointment, went to see the doctor, and the doctor prescribed some antidepressants for me, and I refused that. I did it as a psychologist. I knew what antidepressants could do. They're actually just really numbing the experience, and I didn't really want that. And at the same time, I was breastfeeding,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to take antidepressants while I was breastfeeding. So I refused that. And I just went through therapy, just the talking therapy. And from that experience, it just gave me the permission to not be okay. And I think that was enough. Just recognizing that I needed help. I was open to receive that help, because for most of my life I thought that I could do things on my own. I'm an independent person. I have my goals. I'll go for it and I can make it happen. And to some extent, I managed to do that until I couldn't anymore. There's a point where you actually burn out. And when you add in those responsibilities of motherhood, there are other things that you have to take care of, other responsibilities that you're taking on board as a mother. There's only so much that you can do as a person. So having that acknowledgement that I cannot be everything for everyone and I need help, that was a really good first step. And from there, I don't know what happened. It's just I just followed all the synchronicities that happened next. I think there must have been an energy shift or a mindset shift, but things just started going into the right places, and all I had to do was follow that trajectory. I had the opportunity. I think it was just a moment where I thought, okay, I need an exit strategy. I can take back control. And the easy thing for me is to write books, because as an academic, I can write books. I know how to write books, but I didn't know how to self-publish. So that's a little bit scary, because there's a gap there,
Mhm.
extra skills that I need to have. But that didn't stop me. I'm not the first one to self-publish, and I won't be the last. So I educated myself, I reached out to mentors, I upskilled, gained new skills, gained experiences, and got my books to number one bestseller. And from there, there's just this snowball effect. Being a number one best-selling author opened doors for speaking engagements. It opened doors for me starting my own coaching practice, and people started noticing that I am a best-selling author, self-published author. People asked me the same questions. How did you do it? How did you get to number one bestseller? People were asking me the same things, and that led me to start, my courses and consulting. And yeah, it just snowballed from there. So what I would say, in a nutshell, just a short answer to your question is, I I embraced the fact that I needed help, and it's just me tuning in to all of the synchronicities that happened next, following that path, taking action, asking for help when needed, and it just snowballed from there.
Okay, so I love that because we have been finding a trend in on employees to entrepreneur and kind of like being open minded to seeing where the process goes and how one decision is a launch pad for another opportunity, which is then a launch pad for another opportunity. And so I love how you got the help that you needed, wrote a book about your expertise, and then taught people how to do that, and so on and so forth. And so I think that's the one thing that people underestimate about being an entrepreneur is, maybe you choose to sell a service or a product or a course or be a coach or whatever, but being open minded to knowing that it's going to have spin-off effects in multiple different revenue streams coming from one decision. And so just being open to those possibilities and being able to say yes or no depending on your bandwidth at the time. So I love that. So what advice would you have for someone who is looking at becoming an entrepreneur or needing to break free because of, being in motherhood and wanting to make those choices for their family?
All right, I have to say that it can get scary, because it's almost like you're moving out of your comfort zone. In my case, I was an academic for most of my life. That's for many of my former colleagues. They would say something like, they've played with the idea of starting their own business, but they're just so comfortable with where they are, and they feel as if there's nothing else that they can do. So, what I would say is try not to confine yourself in that mindset. For me, I just know deep in my heart that there's so much more that I can offer. Even with a PhD, you might think that, have I hit the ceiling of how much I could learn and develop? Well, actually, no, because as soon as I went out of academia, I realized that there's so much more that I can develop, and it kind of re-energized my enthusiasm for learning and for life, that at this stage I am still growing, I am still learning. There's so much more that I could embrace in this life. For many entrepreneurs who are starting out, they might feel as if it's shaky, it's new territory, it can be a bit scary, but you know what, it's really exciting because it's this whole new adventure, and just embrace it. If you need help, seek help. You're not the first person to walk down this path. There will be challenges, highs and lows, and some people say it's not suitable for everyone because it takes a particular mindset, and it takes a particular characteristic. You need to be open to grow, to learn, to embrace mistakes, and actually not think of experiences as failures but as opportunities to get better and to learn, and just embracing everything as an adventure. So, if you're thinking about stepping out of your comfort zone or stepping out of your current job and moving into entrepreneurship, I would say embrace it wholeheartedly. See it as an adventure. It's going to be a learning experience. It has its highs and its lows. But what I would say is surround yourself with people who have this same mentality of growing and learning, and people who have been in this journey as well, maybe a couple of steps ahead of you, so it's not too scary and you can support each other in the process.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I don't think either of us would get where we are without the support of that network. And I think that's the cool thing is that it is a million people are in this network of entrepreneurship around the world. And so, yeah, absolutely. We can avoid having all the growing pains and as many lows, right? That you mentioned, there's highs and lows, skip as many lows as possible by leaning on other people and networking with people who've done what you've already done. So anybody that is looking at going the next level and publishing a book, definitely need to connect with you. So the links are going to be in the comments. So make sure that you connect with her and that you build a relationship and get to know, because she's walked down the path of publishing. So save yourself those steps, right? Hire somebody or get some coaching and taking the course on how to do that. And if you are looking for a great community of moms that have been down the path or are going down a similar path, join our free community, the Mom Boss Mentor, or subscribe so you can get to know other moms that are going through a similar transition or have already done so. So, any final comments that you wanted to share before we wrap up today's episode?
Well, just we as we've mentioned earlier, yeah, the importance of connection, the importance of support. It can be a bit scary, but embrace the fear and take on the adventure. It's just absolutely amazing. And if I had to do things all over again, I probably do the same stuff all over again. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no regrets, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being a guest on the Mom Boss Mentor, and can't wait to continue our conversation for self-publishing because that's definitely on my wheelhouse. So thank you so much, friend.
Thank you.